But, Anthony, are you very excited to talk to Bob Gale?
Of course. I want Travis in here, too, on mic, because Travis is a giant fan.
Have fun, guys.
Hey.
Have fun.
You've got to get back.
I don't need to be here for this.
Bob Gale. What?
Who is Bob Gale, by the way?
Who is Bob Gale? Co-wrote Back to the Future, a little film you might have heard of with Robert Zemeckis, and wrote Back to the Future 2 and 3. He also co-produced on all 3 films. I want to actually know exactly what his input was.
He also wrote, please, more importantly, Used Cars.
Did he really?
One of the funniest films ever. Yeah.
Yes, Jimmy is constantly talking about used cars. It's very funny. And I Want to Hold Your Hand. Wasn't that that Beatles movie with Spielberg made? I'm not sure. We'll have to ask him. He's on the phone. Why don't we talk to him?
Hey, Bob, welcome to the Opie and Anthony Show.
Hey, thanks, guys.
You got 3 or 4 guys here that are obsessed with the Back to the Future series.
Great.
Hi,
No
Bob.
joke.
My house.
There's an obsession that is a little creepy.
Bob, I got to ask you first, what the hell is it about Back to the Future that this many years later, people still are buying it on DVD, find it fascinating, entertaining?
I think that the core idea of it is just something that strikes everybody. I mean, what's amazing to me is how all these kids today, little kids, I mean, my daughter wasn't born when the movie was made. She and all of her friends in college, they've seen.
Neither was my girlfriend.
It's just a universal thing that everybody comes to the realization, oh my God, at one time my parents were children. They were kids the same age as me.
Right.
And that's just a fascinating idea. And, you know, nobody really explored that idea to the degree that we did before our movie.
Did you come up with the actual idea of this guy going back in time?
Yeah.
And it kind of screwing up?
Well, the way it started, Zemeckis and I had always talked about trying to figure out how to do a time travel movie because we both had our minds warped watching the Twilight Zone and the George Powell Time Machine movie, but we never were able to figure out the hook. And then I was actually back visiting my parents in St. Louis on a promotional trip for used cars, and digging through my basement, I found my father's high school yearbook, and I was thumbing through it, and there was my father, and he was the president of his graduating class. And I started thinking about the president of my graduating class, who was, you know, one of these kind of rah-rah asshole guys. And I'm thinking, my God, if I had gone to high school with my dad, would I have been friends with him, or would I have had nothing to do with him? So that was the germ of the idea, to make a time travel story that was a little different than anything else. What if you could go to high school with your parents? So when I got back to California, I started talking to Zemeckis about this, and he got excited about it. And he said, yeah, what if it turned out that your mom was the slut? And then the snowball got rolling, and we pitched it over at Columbia because they really liked used cars, even though the movie hadn't done much at the box office. They said, you want to do your next movie? And we set it up there, and in true Hollywood fashion, after we wrote 2 drafts of the script, they said, well, no, we don't want to make it, and it took us almost 4 years after that to finally get the movie into production.
4 years.
Bob, is it true that Disney wouldn't take the movie because it was the subject matter was a little too risque for even Disney?
Yeah, actually, that's absolutely true. We shopped the movie around, and at the time, the early '80s, raunch comedy was the big thing. They wanted, stripes, stuff that was more gross. And they kept saying, well, it's a really nice script. It's really sweet. It's got this family thing going on. You guys ought to take this to Disney. And we kept hearing this over and over again. And finally, we'd been rejected by every studio. And we said, well, what the hell? Let's go take it to Disney, see what they say. So we have a meeting over there, and this was way before Disney got itself revamped. And so this was the old Disney management that was making such great movies as Tron and The Black Hole. So we go in there, and the guy said, are you guys nuts? We can't make this movie here. this scene with the kid and his mother in the car.
And there's an attempted rape.
What are you thinking?
Yeah, that we always do talk a lot about the content of it, and the fact that it is a comedy. It's considered by a lot of people on the outside as a very innocent movie, but some of the scenes in there and some of the language you could not put in a movie today that is marketed to the same people it was marketed to back when this came out.
Well, PG-13 didn't exist back then, so we have a PG rating, and yeah, we have shits and goddams and that sort of stuff, which we just it was in there because that's the way kids talk. Kids talk that way then, and they still talk that way, if worse, probably.
But I mean, like, I could remember being a kid, and like they would show Back to the Future for, like we'd have like movie day or whatever it was, like in the auditorium, and I remember being uncomfortable as a kid, like watching, Biff try to, get it on with Lorraine in the car, and I'm like, I don't think this is. I'm in third grade. I'm not supposed to be watching this. Like, this is a little inappropriate for me.
This is dirty.
And obviously, it totally destroyed your all your thought processes, didn't it?
It is one of my favorite movies of all time. It's just so strange how you would never even I don't think that kind of like if that movie was re-released in the theater now, I mean, it would probably get an R rating.
Yeah.
Well, no, I don't think it'd get an R rating, but it would certainly get a PG-13.
They'd have one of those disclaimers for mild language and strong sexual content.
And almost a rape. And by the way, I always wondered why George would have Biff come over and be his car wax guy when he tried to rape his wife.
Well, it just shows what a decent, forgiving guy George was.
There you go. I was wondering about that.
Something came for you, Mr. McFly. I think it's your new book. Remember when I tried to rape your girlfriend?
Yeah.
And not to mention the incest.
Yeah, the whole incestuous angle. They are kissing. They are mother and son, even though they're the same age at the time. Any flack from that as far as when you went before the ratings board?
No, none at all.
They were fine with it, huh?
He was the only one that really got upset with it, but we dealt with it with a comedic touch, so that you just knew this was not serious, and it was just never going to really. Nothing was going to actually really happen in there. And that was actually, when we were writing the script, it was one of the things that we kept saying, well, how are we going to get out of this? How are we going to get out of this? And we came up with the idea, well, okay, it's like kissing my brother. Lorraine has that line.
Right.
And we said, well, okay, we can do that because this situation has never actually ever happened before.
Yeah,
Who knows what it'd be like?
It might seem like that.
I know you probably get asked this a lot, but I mean, I'm sure all the hardcore fans know out there that Back to the Future originally was cast with Eric Stoltz as Marty McFly.
That's correct.
And everybody wants to know when this footage, because it's nowhere. It's one of the only things that you just cannot find. I mean,
look, we did not destroy the footage. The footage exists, and we thought back in 2002 when the movie first came out on DVD. Zemeckis and I had a long conversation about whether or not we should put any of this stuff on there. And we decided not to because at this time, because Eric's still a working actor. He didn't do anything wrong. It was our mistake. We miscast it. But
what was the mistake? Like, what did you see in him that made you say, like, "Ooh, boy, this ain't the right guy"?
Was it the Rocky Dennis makeup and mask, and he was just running around like it was called, retard going Back to the Future, and he's still stupid?
Jesus Christ, Jimmy.
Yeah, that would have been what we would do in Back to the Future too, when Biff messed everything.
Yeah, that's a different timeline.
Eric was a good actor, and the head of the studio was just so extremely bullish on him because he loved the movie Mask. That, I mean, he really was kind of an overbearing guy, and he said to us in a moment of bravura, he just said, "I'm so convinced that Eric Stoltz will be great in this movie that if he's not, you guys recast it and start all over." Now, he never expected we would take him up on that because he thought Eric Stoltz would just be great, and he wasn't. So when after 5 weeks Bob had put enough footage together where he realized that it wasn't working the way it was supposed to work.